What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out one of the latest and greatest robot vacuums from DREAME. What we have here today is called the DREAME Aqua10 Ultra Roller Complete, and as the name suggests, this robot vacuum gets a brand new mopping system. This is in fact the first robot vacuum from DREAME that gets this rolling mop system here. So the main difference between this rolling mop system and a more typical robot vacuum, so the ones that have two spinning brushes at the bottom, the dirt actually stays inside the robot vacuum. So every time the roller mop spins, it gets sprayed with water and all the dirt from the floor ends up inside the robot vacuum. So that is the main difference between this robot vacuum and a robot vacuum that has the more traditional two spinning brushes at the bottom. So those other robot vacuums kind of spread that dirt throughout your house. Well, with this robot vacuum here, all that dirt gets stuck inside the robot vacuum. So that is the biggest difference between this robot vacuum and a more traditional one. Now, before we go any further, I also want to mention that this video is sponsored by DREAME. And if you want to check out this robot vacuum, there will be some links available in the video's description. So basically, because of the Aqua Roll mopping system, anything that you may have on the floor, so let's say that you spill some coffee or some ketchup or some food, basically everything will end up inside the robot vacuum here, because as I showed you earlier, as the roller mop spins, it gets cleaned inside the robot vacuum. All that dirt from inside the robot vacuum will end up in the base station whenever this goes to clean itself. Talking about cleaning itself and the base station, well, the base station is a bit too big to have on my desk here next to me, but yes, you do get the base station in the box as well. That's where the robot vacuum actually washes that mop with 100 degrees Celsius hot water, so extremely hot water, so all the grease, all the dirt from that roller mop will disappear. The manufacturer calls that the thermo-hub mop self-cleaning, and even though the water temperature reaches 100 degrees Celsius, do not fear, the robot vacuum will not actually leave the base station before that's cool enough to touch. So there is no danger to pets or children just in case they touch anything once the robot vacuum leaves. So as I said, all the dirt from your floors will end up inside that base station. If you do check that dirty water container inside the base station, so at the top of the base station there we basically have our clean water tank and the dirty water tank. If you check that dirty water tank, you will be surprised to see how dirty that water is. And going back to the mopping system and why this mopping system is better than most, and even though I cannot personally film inside the robot vacuum as the vacuum cleans, basically inside the robot vacuum here we have what the manufacturer calls Fluff Roll Tech. This is basically a counter-rotating fluffy roller module that enhances the cleaning performance. So now, because the roller mop is actually fluffier, it can reach places like the grout in between the tiles. With a lot of these robot vacuums that have this mopping system, they cannot reach that grout in between the tiles. Well, that's not the case with this one anymore, because the roller mop is always fluffier and it can definitely reach that grout line in between the tiles. So you're definitely gonna get better cleaning for your floors throughout your house. Next, we are moving on to a feature that I haven't seen from any other manufacturer, and I always wanted to see it on a robot vacuum. So DREAME introduced this first. So this is called the Auto Seal Roller Guard. So this is basically a plastic shield that goes over the roller mop here. Therefore, the roller mop will not touch the carpet at all because we have a plastic shield. I'm not sure how well I'll be able to film that under the robot vacuum as the vacuum cleans. I'll try to do my best to show you on camera, but I'm not sure how well I'll be able to capture that. But basically, the roller mop doesn't touch carpets anymore, therefore the carpets are not gonna get moist, damp, or anything like that. So this is a great feature, and I wish I would have seen this for more manufacturers. And since we are talking about carpets, of course, this robot vacuum does great for carpets as well. So this offers a suction power of 30,000 Pascal and what the manufacturer calls the Hyperstream Detangling Duo Brush. So this brush that we have here, it's basically two brushes. So not only this will be able to pick up anything from carpets, but there will be no hair stuck on this either. With a lot of vacuums, you basically have to remove these brushes and clean the hair of them. Well, that's not the case. So this vacuum, everything ends up inside the robot vacuum. What we see here is actually the emptying hole. So our base station also has a dust bag in there. So every so often the robot vacuum will go back to the base station and empty itself out, and all the dirt will end up inside the base station there. Every so often, of course, you're gonna have to replace that dust bag, but you're not gonna have to clean the hair of this because everything will end up inside that bag. So a lot of suction power and no hair stuck on these brushes. And of course there is more. The side brush here also extends out, so it can reach the corners, it can reach the edges of the wall or the furniture or whatever. And the same happens with the mop. So the mop actually comes out and it can reach the edges of the wall. So now you're not gonna have any spaces throughout your house that are left uncleaned. With a lot of vacuums, you basically have about this much space that never gets cleaned, so close to the wall. Well, that's not the case with this robot vacuum anymore. So all the edges, all the corners are actually gonna be cleaned by this robot. How about obstacle avoidance? Well, Dreamy Vacs have always done much better than their competition for obstacle avoidance, and this one does even better. So now we get the upgraded Astrovision. So we basically have two cameras on the front here, and these two cameras with the AI basically see the way our human eyes see. So it's able to see cables, small objects on the floor, and it will be able to avoid all that. At the top here, we also have the LiDAR navigation system. So of course, this robot will navigate throughout your house, will map out your entire house. But what happens when it gets to, I don't know, a lower couch or something? Well, the LiDAR tower right here actually goes down, as you see it right now, it's hidden. So then the vacuum can actually go under smaller spaces, so like a couch, a bed or something like that, and it will use the cameras and the LEDs on the front here to navigate under those objects. So basically you can let this go on a cleaning cycle when you're not at home and you don't really have to worry about what you leave on the floor. The vacuum will basically see everything that's on the floor, avoid everything, and basically not get stuck and go back to the base station to clean itself, or whenever it needs to recharge, or whenever it's done the cleaning cycle. And these are just some of the features this robot vacuum has to offer. I haven't even mentioned that this can lift itself up to 8 centimeters to go over stuff throughout your house. So this robot vacuum is packed with an insane amount of features. Well, if you're looking for the absolute best robot vacuum out there, because I don't think there is anything else better than this robot vacuum currently on the market, well, look no further, because this robot vacuum is definitely the one to get. As always, there will be some links in the video's description so you can check this out. Once again, thanks Dreamy for sponsoring this video. If I do get any coupon codes or anything like that, I will add everything in the video's description. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll try to answer whatever questions you may have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.